Yeah, that would have been a nice hit. I would have called Brian Gawley, maybe invested some of that nine cover money, but it was 9.5. Let's go. Let's keep the NFL thing going here.
Let me just chime in here, because I think it's a fascinating conversation. I think KC does to opponents what Tom and Belichick and those guys did at the end of that last Patriots run. Remember, New England won a bunch of championships, right, Barney? And then they weren't in the mix for a long time. And then they came back, and there was a renaissance when Gronk and Hernandez and all those guys. I guess we're not allowed to talk about
Hernandez. Whoa.
Yeah, Julian Edelman and those guys.
Yeah, let's go there. The McCourties and good people.
But the Patriots drove opponents so crazy that they almost felt like they were forced to do things that weren't in their DNA, that weren't in their identity. What Ryan just talked about, going for it on 4th and 10, DeMeco Ryans would have done that against no other opponent. And that was still a ball game. There was no need for it. And yet once you start getting away from who and what you are, that's when the plot is lost. And that's what Kansas City does to opponents. As good as they are, they also have this way of getting in your head. They got into Todd Monken's head last year in the AFC Championship game when they abandoned the run. They got into DeMeco Ryans' head last week in a game that was very winnable.
I'll give a shout out here to Gary in Winnipeg on the text line. I respect the Kansas City Chiefs for not changing their name, like the Washington Redskins or Edmonton Eskimos. Gary from Winnipeg, the old fart. Here's a question for you, Arash. You can answer this too if you want. Is John Harbaugh a good postseason football coach?
I mean, yeah, he's got a Super Bowl on his resume. John Harbaugh wasn't the one who fumbled the ball twice. John Harbaugh wasn't the one who had the ball in his hands at the goal line. John Harbaugh wasn't the one who misread the throw that got picked off. I would say yes.
Yeah, and even to that, for me, I didn't think Baltimore was great in that first half, right? They didn't look sharp. They looked like maybe they're questioning things or pressing. So someone had to go into that room and settle things down and redirect, because they sure came out in the second half and looked like the team that people expected them to be. So when I see that tells me that there's a good team.
Ryan. Right?
What's
they
that?
didn't panic.
Yeah,
they didn't
100%.
panic. They stuck to who they were, and what they do in the third quarter. Oh, right. We have Derrick Henry. We have Justice Hill. Let's give them the football.
Yeah.
Yeah, I just don't know. They came out with it just seemed like a weird game plan. It's not what I expected from them. But later in the game, I was like, the Baltimore is going to beat Kansas City. That's what I would say. Baltimore is going to beat Kansas City. They just couldn't get there at that point. Buffalo obviously can beat Kansas City. Ryan and I were just talking. What's the status on the defensive back though? Looked like he popped his shoulder out there. That didn't look really good. How banged up is Buffalo? What do you see in this matchup?
Yeah, I think everybody this time of year is pretty banged up. I don't know his status. We'll probably find that out tomorrow. But just to put a pin in the Baltimore thing, the Ravens outgained the Bills by 150 yards, 416 to 273. They had 2.5 more yards per play. They were 7 of 10 on third down. But the difference, fellas, Buffalo 0 turnovers, Baltimore 4. The Bills had 1 penalty the entire night. What you have now with Kansas City, and I was texting with somebody in the football world. You weren't the only one, Pollock, doing that.
You guys are popular.
Yeah. But what you have in this AFC Championship game is a Buffalo team that's been the best turnover ratio, best with ball security in the conference this year, against a Kansas City team that hasn't turned the ball over in 8 games. That's why both of these teams are here. if you're watching on the stream, Mark Andrews is wide open over the middle, catches the ball, takes 3 steps, and just has it poked out nearing the midway point of the fourth quarter. That's the difference between playing for a Super Bowl on Sunday and Cancun. So, ball security is job security, and the team that takes care of the ball better on Sunday, they're the ones going to New Orleans. I really believe that.
I don't know why Puerto Vallarta, Watu, they never get any love. It's always Cancun.
Always Cancun.
Yeah, they're going to Cancun.
Cabo gets some love.
Cabo gets the love on the West Coast. This is the 9th time. That's hard to believe. We're going to see Mahomes versus Allen.
And here's what's wild, Barney. What if I told you Josh Allen is 4-1 against Patrick Mahomes in the regular season?
I believe you.
Then 3-0 Sir Patrick is over Josh in the playoffs.
Yeah.
And this is why I think this is going to be different. If you're watching the stream, this is what happened week 10. Buffalo is down 2 points. Allen just takes off on a run. Look, KC just hasn't been dominant all year, and this is what Buffalo can do, and not even Lamar Jackson has been as dominant with his legs the way Josh is, how headstrong Allen is. I don't think, look, obviously Buffalo beating them this year ended their undefeated season. I don't think Kansas City's as good as they've been through this entire Mahomes era. I don't think they faced a quarterback quite like Allen who's so versatile. It's a really good KC defense with a lot of top picks. How they handle 17, to me, is the story of this game.
I can't believe how much of a Buffalo Bills fan I am going into this week. I might have to buy some gear. Those old Zuba pants.
Kansas City, is that why?
Absolutely. Anybody but Kansas City. I almost just said something there that would have got me fired.
That would have
done me a favor.
I shared a photo with a Buffalo Bills fan of my son in his Ravens jersey before the game, and then we had a post-game exchange. And I said, it's okay, we all unite against Kansas City next week. Right. So we all go there. Hey, switching gears, Arash, a little bit. I'm sure you watched all the games. Washington, another impressive week. You have any hot takes on Jaden Daniels heading into this weekend?
I was thinking about this, fellas. I think that Jaden Daniels is has had the best rookie year of any athlete in North American professional sports ever.
Whoa.
That's a big statement.
That's heavy.
But think about what he's done. This team, this roster, first of all, is garbage. Outside of Terry McLaurin, he has no weapons. From a win expectation coming into the season, they were 4th worst. This has been a franchise that's been in the tank for a quarter century. It's been more than 12,000 days since Washington got to a conference championship game. And now Daniels has thrown for more yards ever than any other rookie in the history of the NFL. Back-to-back road playoff games where he hasn't turned the ball over, has only been sacked once. For those watching on the stream, the Hail Mary against Chicago, this is one of 5 games that Washington trailed with under a minute to go and won the football game. Ryan, how many times have we heard coaches come in, take a job, and say, we have to change the culture around here?
Every year.
Every time, right? Jaden Daniels single-handedly has changed the culture in Washington because everybody's bought into what he's doing. And now a Washington team that's been, terrible forever is a win away from the Super Bowl.
They used to be the team just in the background, right? Someone else just played them. They were just one of the teams in the league, and now here they are right in the mix again.
The Buffalo Sabres of the NFL.
Right.
Yeah, and what we always say about Washington, well, all you knew about Washington was they had terrible ownership with Daniel Snyder.
Mm-hmm.
How about this one, fellas? This is
used to have a sick logo.
They used to have a sick logo.
Yeah.
So they last got to the Super Bowl, Mark Rippon and company, 91-92. How many starting quarterbacks Just take a guess. Has Washington had since 1992? We're talking 33 years.
Oh.
33 years. Just take a guess. How many starting
70.
quarterbacks?
70.
Well,
6.
35. Jaden Daniels is the 35th, like more than one a year. And they've drafted in the first round with RG3 and with Jason Campbell and Heath Schuler. They gave Kirk Cousins to
They had your boy. They had your boy. You like that? You like that?
Actually, Kirk, I don't. Man, it's amazing what's happening there, and it's all out of nowhere. And that's what makes it so cool.
We talked about just yesterday, I can't remember who brought it up, but then you said the VR training.
Yeah.
That Jaden Daniels, you have to talk about that. That is mind-boggling. And where does that go with other sports and everything, right?
Yeah, you're going to think that it's going to catch on. People seeing the success of this, and if he's touting it and saying he's studying the game and watching film on VR and at 1.5 or 1.75 the speed and to train his brain so the game slows down, and when he takes it off, it's remarkable.
Yeah. And look, who knows what's going to happen to Caleb Williams? Okay, Who knows? How did Jaden Daniels go to? How did he go to when everybody in college football last year told you he was the best player in the SEC?
It's such a hard. It's so hard to pick good quarterbacks out of college. That I wouldn't want that job. Not a chance.
Yeah, it's hard, but to me, when you take it in reverse, going, if I'm comparing two guys, I'm going, what are the red flags? Which one of those guys coming out had potentially more red flags versus the other, more risk at play versus the other? Maybe that changes, but it ain't easy.
What's amazing too? Everyone with Caleb is talking about development. They're not doing that with Jaden Daniels.
I think Caleb's good. He had some games this year, and I have no idea why I was watching Chicago Bears games, but he had some games that he looked really good. I'm a big Bo Nix guy for some reason. That's actually a really good. He's just exciting. He's gutsy. Yeah. He just seems greasy.
Another guy that went in and just didn't accept what it was. We were going to change it. We're going to move forward as a team. We're going to move forward as an organization. So takes that ownership as a young leader.
I don't know what the Patriots have. I still don't know.
I think you have something there. I think that, and I'm interested in Ryan's perspective on this. We live in an NIL transfer portal world. So Jaden Daniels leaves Arizona State to go to LSU. Caleb leaves Oklahoma to go to USC. Bo Nix leaves Ole Miss to go to Oregon, blah, 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 blah. These guys are coming in having already had to learn a new system immediately, learn new terminology right away. I wonder how much that has made them more pro-ready from the jump compared to a lot of other players who are just stuck in one system for 3 or 4 years, basically all the time up until this new era of college football. I wonder how much that weighs into it, that plays into it. I wonder.
Yeah, it's a good point, because actually I was just listening earlier today on how talking about even veteran guys can get into a spot for 4, 5, 6 years, and then they make a change and there's an adjustment period. Well, some of these young guys with this transfer are exactly that. They're used to it. Maybe they know they can highlight areas that I need to focus on a little bit more because this was tougher to pick up. This took me a little bit longer to adjust. These are important items that I need to be on top of. So maybe in a weird way it is prepping them more as well. But I don't know. I'm a believer too that there's an investment into what you're doing. There's a stick-to-itiveness to it, and that pride, and we've taken one step, and I'm staying here to take that final step and do what it takes for my team. But that might be gone. That ship may have sailed.
Okay, NFL over here. We're going to the CFL, and in between getting yelled at, I can't believe you made this claim over a year ago, Arash.
You got it. One last thing. Member of Corey Mace's staff, I'm not saying this is a done deal, Wouldn't surprise me if Andrew Harris is going to be involved in some way there.
That's the receipt right there.
By the way, who found that game ball?
Colson.
Wow.
I had to go through a full 2-hour podcast for that. I mean, I know when your segment is, but still.
Yeah.
Colson, great job. That's needle in a haystack stuff right there.
He does unbelievable. He doesn't have a football guy like you and RP, but he puts in the work. He gets things done. You like this though. You like this though, don't you?
I do. And this was like, I think I talked about that December of 23, like basically the last off season. The timing just didn't work out. It does now. I'm assuming Ouellette's going to be back next year. Obviously, he and Harris have that relationship. They were in Toronto together. I've always, like, to me, I've never understood why the running back coach is one of the lowest paid assistants on the totem pole and why it's almost like an entry level gig. Because so much of that position is about attitude, physicality, understanding offensive line play, etc. I think bringing in a guy who just got a little bit of coaching under his belt last season, who has familiarity with the position and can bring an attitude with physicality, I really like that. I think that's really going to help.
Over under 60 days from the end of training camp that people in Riderville want him to play, though.
I think Andrew will tell them that he's done. I don't think Andrew wants to get hit anymore. That's
Hey, when I brought it up to Darian last year, he wanted to come in and sling it for a quarter. I don't know if that ever goes away. The hitting thing with a running back is a little bit different.
He's got 3 snaps left in his arsenal. Hey, shoot, come sign the contract, Andrew. They play you 3 snaps. They got to pay you the rest of the year.
It's definitely a nice ad. There's no doubt. I never had the chance to meet him direct, so no comment specifically about him. But I know one of the toughest parts for players becoming coaches is the difference in time. That early arrival to the stadium, that late leave at night, the prep of extra video. You don't get to come in and have everything necessarily boxed in for you. I think it's great that he's been able to spend a year or 2 out of the game now and kind of experience that before stepping in. So again, no shot directly at him. I think it's an incredible ad, but I know we've seen it that guys move in too quickly and they go, holy smokes, this is a lot more than I bit off. But I think it's a great ad, character-wise, work-wise for the Riders. I think it's a great voice for them to add to that staff.
Just 1 year removed.
Just one, yeah.
And the other thing,
I don't want to compare the CJFL with the pros.
Right.
But he did coach last year in the Junior Football League.
Yep.
So at least he got a little bit of a taste of what this is. And I think, obviously the hours, the time, the pressures, the expectations are different. But at least it wasn't one of those, like, he's like, okay, well, this is something I think I want to do. Yep. And he didn't have to do that at the pro level right away.
Yeah, agreed. Yep.
1 year. And Coach Mace isn't bringing him in if he's...
No,
this is
100%.
calculated.
Yep, 100%.
This is totally calculated. Yep. Now let's just take a chance on him. I don't know him very well.
No, great ad for them. Great ad.
Well, and Corey knows him, right? They spent 2 years in Toronto together, so they know, human DNA, which is a big part of it.
Yep.
What else do we got? Free agency news before things open up, or are we waiting for February 1st?
Yeah, I think it's going to probably be pretty quiet over the next 10 days. Some teams are going to take care of a few guys in-house. And yeah, once February rolls around, free agency, a few things will happen. I just want to I think this is one thing we learned last year, not to get too ahead of things when it comes to free agency. Because there was a player who for 100 days was a free agent, who was on the couch. And nobody had any interest in him. And then it wasn't until Chad Kelly got suspended that Nick Arbuckle got his chance. And the next thing you knew, he's starting in the Grey Cup and he's the Grey Cup MVP. So, yeah, free agency, there's going to be some familiar names. There's going to be some movement. There's going to be some overpays, no doubt. But I would also just keep something else in mind, that come training camp, there's going to be injuries. There's going to be some stuff that's going that's going to go on with teams, suspensions, no-shows, last-minute retirements. Dudes just don't want to do it anymore. And there may be some players who may get signed in May that could make a real impact on football teams. So don't get too caught up on just what happens in February, because some signings and right before training camp or during training camp could make an impact on a team, just like Nick Arbuckle did for the Argos last year.
Right on. We took a little extra of your time today. Appreciate it. Somebody on the text line's thinking that it's ironic you're wearing a Minnesota t-shirt. Speaking of teams that have been cursed for the last 60 years.
That's right. Might go set this thing on fire just for something to do. Just to stay warm.
Unless it says Cousins on the back, you can't do that.
Right. I've never done it like that.
See ya, Arash.
All right, Arash.
Hey, guys.